Pittsburgh history was made this past November with the election of our 61st mayor and the first Black mayor in the history of the city of Pittsburgh. And we are very excited with the opportunities that are presented. A number of us have known Mayor Gainey for a number of years and think very highly of him, and look forward to what his administration will be bringing to the efforts that are included in the Greater Pittsburgh Food Action Plan promulgated by this particular council. One of the great things that we'd like to see happen with some regularity, and it's going to happen here with the first opportunity, is that we do have someone who is going to provide greetings to this group from Mayor Gainey. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Josiah Gilliam. So for those of you who don't know him, he is, of course, with the office of Mayor Gainey. He is the Brothers Keeper Coordinator for the city, focusing on policies and programs that enhance opportunity and outcomes for Black men and boys in areas such as literacy, mentoring, workforce development, and violence prevention. Previously, he served as program manager for the initiative through his role at the Homewood Children's Village, where he also served as the web and digital communications manager and special assistant to the chief executive officer. Josiah is a graduate of the Pennsylvania State University, but please don't hold that against him. And he lives in East Liberty. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Josiah to address the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. And hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. As I said in the chat earlier, really great to be with you all. And it's personally cool to know more faces than I would have otherwise, because I've had the chance to meet with so many of you so far. I'll keep my comments brief. I really appreciate the chance to be here with you and to learn more about this. What I can share from the administration beyond warm greetings is that issues related to food insecurity, food equity, building out robust food systems, and really supporting the ecosystem of supports both within the city and then, of course, importantly, outside of the city is a critical priority. The mayor is very passionate about this. A lot of our senior leadership is very passionate about this. And it's been something that they've asked me to brief them on and then to spend time with everybody, to learn more. So please consider me to be an ally. Look for a good working relationship from this administration, building on a lot of the good work that's happened in previous years. And I'm just very excited, very personally excited. A chance, I think, to maybe, let's hope, experience a golden era coming out of COVID, where the realities have, in some unfortunate ways, been exacerbated, but I think really has helped clarify for a lot of us that have been interested in this kind of work, what the opportunity is, just like it's clarified what a lot of the challenges, have been. So excited about this, excited to dive in and just listen, but please reach out directly if there's any way that I can be, a good ally to this work, and looking forward to getting to know you all better. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, thank you, Josiah. And next on our agenda is a member recognition. And for purpose of providing the details on that, I'd like to call upon Carlin.
Hi, thank you, Denny. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight and spending hopefully the end of your workday with us. We have carved out a few minutes of these agendas to appreciate members and organizations in our network for the great work that they're doing. And at this meeting tonight, we want to go ahead and appreciate the Food Policy Council just went through a process of writing an RFP, reviewing applicants and interviewing applicants to do that strategic planning for our organization. And we formed sort of strategic planning subcommittee of board members. And those folks came together to create a rubric to evaluate the proposals, to write the interview questions, to do the interviews, and then to score and evaluate all of the proposals. I think we got 11 proposals in all, and a lot of them were really good. So it was great to have really broad input on making that decision. We always feel like the more perspectives better. So on this committee sat Neisha Johnson of the Pittsburgh Hub, Blair Shaneborn of Bridgeway Capital, Heather Manzo from the Allegheny County Conservation District, Hannah Hardy from the Allegheny County Health Department, and Carlos Thomas from Feed the Hood. And just overall, the process was, really overwhelming going into it, but it went really beautifully, and it was a really exciting collaboration of all of these folks. And we all came out of it feeling really strongly like, we had a clear answer, and that we asked all of the critical questions, and we are super happy. We don't have a contract signed yet. We hope to have that signed before the end of this week, and then we'll announce the firm that's going to be doing the work for us. But I personally wanted to thank all of the people and acknowledge them and their contribution to this work in front of our broader network. And now I just want to give a second, if any of those folks that I named are on the call and want to share any reflection on their experience doing that work. There's no pressure to, but I'd like to just give a moment if anybody wants to. So I think I've seen Blair, Carlos. Who else have I seen? I think it's just Blair and Carlos that are with us. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time and your contributions, and we couldn't do this work without you.
Yeah, I'll just chime in and say that it was a really robust process, and we were able to arrive at a pretty strong consensus around the ask and the consultants that we reviewed, and it was a pleasure to be part of that team. I don't want to put you on the spot, Chef Los, but if you wanted to add anything, I don't want to speak for the whole group, but just wanted to chime in and let you know that I thought it was great.
Thanks, Blair. I think we're good. Unless, Carlos, you can always chime in whenever if you can unmute yourself, but if not, no worries. But yeah, Mim and Denny, you guys.
No, I'm good. I appreciate everybody who participated and just the acknowledgement overall. And it was an exciting process.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, Mim and Denny, take it away.
Yeah, hi, I'm having trouble finding the unmute button today. Okay, so thank you for that. And we're now going to go into our deep dive about the Food Justice Fund, and Dawn is going to introduce that.
Excuse me, this is Pastor Love. I have to remain unmuted because I'm blind. I can't, and nobody here to help me in, okay?
Sounds good, Pastor Love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Yes. Yeah, so we're very excited to jump into this next piece of the agenda and spend most of our time here, which is, the Food Policy Council has worked, as many of you know, with many of you and other partners across the county, across the city and county, to put together a food action plan, essentially a roadmap of strategies of how to advance food justice, to advance a just, equitable, and sustainable food system. And there's a place in that work for everyone. And there's also a real need for a strong public sector presence, a strong public policy at the local level, which is something that's somewhat new and a growing field. And so we're really excited to have been working over the last several months to put forward a proposal, an idea that we've seen have success in other cities for a food justice fund, which is the idea of asking the city to take public funds, invest them directly into our community and regional food systems. Because as we mentioned before, with COVID-19, a lot of the challenges that we see on the ground all of the time, whether it's in the restaurant sector, in the farming and urban ag sector, in the food access and healthy fresh food access questions in communities across the city, those challenges became more acute. And so now is really the time, especially when we were looking at funds that were being invested from the federal government into cities, through the American Rescue Plan. Is there an opportunity here for the city to partner with the food community and invest in the food community? And so as a council, we've been calling for two things. One is the creation of a food justice fund, which we were calling for a $10 million investment of $2.5 million per year over the 4 years of the American Rescue Plan funding, and also strong leadership of the Gainey administration, senior leadership around questions of food and putting those questions at the center. And I think, as Josiah mentioned, the Gainey administration has been clear around its desire to work hard for a Pittsburgh for all, and food is obviously a really central piece of that. So we're really excited about the opportunities that this moment presents. And I think, I wanted to make sure that we introduce this conversation by saying the Food Justice Fund is an idea. It's a dream. It's something that we can make happen if we work together and we clarify that vision and clarify what we want in that kind of proposal, and work really closely with our elected officials and our friends in city government to make that happen. It's not an easy thing. It's not, the kind of thing where we'll be cutting checks, the city will be cutting checks next month. We really need to rally together to understand what this moment is, what opportunities we have, and how we can make that happen. As the city struggles with many urgent questions, whether it's around housing, all of the things, but food, we really want to make sure is also at the top of that agenda. So I wanted to share just a little bit of that information, and really looking forward to working with each of you and going into small groups to hear from you directly about what something like a food justice fund might look like. But before we do that, we want to sort of review where we're at, the work we've done together over the last several months. And I wanted to hand it over to Sam to walk us through some of that.
Great, thank you very much, Dawn. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so yeah, as Dawn mentioned, I'm just going to give kind of a high-level overview of where we are currently with the Food Justice Fund, kind of how we got here, and where we are looking at going next. We do have kind of a more detailed proposal that I think Carlin is able to drop a link in the chat if folks are interested in looking at the kind of more the nitty-gritty details, at least where they are now. You can go ahead and take a look at that when that's in the chat. But to start kind of with just some background on, as Dawn was saying, kind of where the Food Justice Fund idea kind of came from and how it's evolved over the last couple of months. It's really kind of deeply connected to the Greater Pittsburgh Food Action Plan, which was a two and a half year long, very kind of collaborative, community-based process to identify ultimately 150 strategies to advance the food system in southwestern Pennsylvania. So around, as we were finishing up the plan in August and September of 2020, we began to, we being the then steering committee, working groups, and staff of the Food Policy Council began to identify what were the top priorities. We weren't going to work on 150 things at once, so what were some of the top priorities? And securing financial support for regional and community food systems development was one of those top priorities. So obviously that's very connected to the Food Justice Fund here. What really provided the impetus to start building out this proposal around the Food Justice Fund was the American Rescue Plan Act, which was passed by Congress in March of 2021 and allocated $335 million to the city of Pittsburgh. So once that funding came out and we knew that there was that opportunity. Essentially we worked to try and understand what options were, what possibilities were available, and it ended up coming up with this proposal for a $10 million food justice fund. Partially just to say that $10 million comes from research we were doing into other cities that looked like they were spending approximately 3% of their allocations on food systems related investments. So, that's where that $10 million comes from. So I think a number of you were involved in this over the summer. We had a really great turnout to public hearings, trying to engage with the city's process. I think we were ultimately not successful in getting the Food Justice Fund into the initial spending plan, but I think we were really successful in creating this as an issue and creating recognition of the fact that we need to have the city more active and involved in investing in our local food system. So throughout the fall, we continued to meet with city council members and again, better understand the opportunities that we had in front of us. Towards the very end of last year, there was actually an amendment that was put forward by Councilwoman Deb Gross to create a $1.8 million food justice fund that was ultimately tabled when she got a public commitment from the Gainey administration to work on this issue in the new year. So that's kind of where we are now. That's some of the path that we've taken. And so we're looking, as Don mentioned, to continue talking to the new mayoral administration, to city council members, and with you all to best understand how we can make this fund something that there's wide-ranging support and support for, and that would be effective and impactful. So to talk a little bit about kind of what the overall goals for this fund are, these are, the goals come directly from the goals of the Food Action Plan. So that's to build community power, to improve food security and public health, to support a robust regional food economy, and to center the role of equity, sustainable agriculture, and environmental stewardship. So, I think of this as kind of the why, right? Like, why do we need a food justice fund? What will it do? And that's these are the reasons. This is what we're looking to accomplish with the fund. And a couple of kind of core principles. There are a lot of different ways that a fund like this could be set up and could be administered. And so some of the core principles that, through discussions in the last couple of months with Food Policy Council members and our board of directors, these are some of the core principles that we want to make sure are in this fund, so that it's any individual or business or organization living or working in the city would be able to apply, that it would be a very easy, accessible application process. We don't want to create a lot of hoops for people to have to jump through. That in terms of reviewing those applications and making decisions about how funds are actually allocated and distributed, that there would be community oversight, community involvement in that decision-making process. And finally, also in that decision-making process, that there's prioritization for projects that are led by and or benefiting people and communities of color. So those are, again, kind of the core principles that we're trying to move forward through with this fund. Want to talk a little bit about what are some types of projects that we imagine the fund could be used for to support. And these come, the 6 examples on this screen here are, again, kind of directly connected back to the Greater Pittsburgh Food Action Plan, to the list of priority strategies that we established. These are basically just 6 of those 9 strategies. So things like supporting food entrepreneurship, improving access to land, supporting food systems workers, like supporting community-led efforts to address food apartheid. These are the types of projects that that we've been imagining, that we're thinking people who are involved with these projects could apply and receive funding. So just wanted to share that as some examples of what that could look like. In terms of getting a little bit into the details here, as Don mentioned, the initial proposal is for a $10 million investment over 4 years, which would be $2.5 million per year. And have a couple different ways we're thinking about that. So one, we want to make sure that that investment is kind of spread across the food system, in different sectors. So that's why we have the image on the left talking about categories of funding. 25% for sustainable agriculture, 25% for food business, 25% for food security, and 25% for food sovereignty. Obviously, there's overlap between those things, and it may not be exactly that way, but that's the intention there, to make sure that there's kind of distribution across various sectors. And then we also have different kind of tiers of funding. So, the first tier would be projects that are less than $25,000 per year. Imagine this would be things like a community garden, or maybe a corner store, that needs, kind of some smaller level investments that would still be very significant, but on that smaller scale. Then there's a $25,000 to $100,000 per year. They're thinking could be some kind of significant infrastructure investments. So things like, let's say, like hoop houses at various gardens or farms, or expanding a program like the food bucks. So that's kind of like that tier. And then the third tier would be 100,000 to 500,000. And that would be for really kind of significant capital investments, trying to catalyze projects like the development of a cooperative grocery store, for example, that might need that level of funding. Say that, again, these are kind of ideas of kind of what we're thinking about now, based on our some research and initial conversations. None of it's set in stone, but wanted to share that some of that thinking that we've had so far. And as I mentioned, we've done some research into how other cities have set up similar food justice funds. And just wanted to share a few kind of success stories, examples that we've seen. So in Philadelphia, there was Mill Creek Farms, an urban farm that was able to get support from the Philadelphia Food Justice Initiative. That's their fund. And they were able to hire 3 additional employees, really expand their capacity at the farm. And that led to them donating hundreds of pounds of produce to those who are in need kind of throughout the pandemic. Similarly, in Chicago, we saw the Chinese American Service League that was able to get a significant investment and then build a new kitchen space. And in that new kitchen, they were able to provide more meals for seniors, to expand their culinary training program, and offer paid internships for the graduates of that internship program. So some really exciting, really kind of inspiring work that we've seen in other cities, and hoping that again we can kind of bring that here. So just to touch quickly on kind of how we get from where we are to kind of where we want to be. We know that Mayor Gainey will be kind of reopening some discussions around the budget this spring. Don't know exactly when, but that's something that will be happening. And we also know that ultimately to create a food justice fund, we need city council approval. They are the ones who will ultimately have to pass the legislation that creates this fund. So in order to have the support of the mayor's office and city council, we need really broad kind of broad support among our members, as Don was saying, to all be kind of pushing forward in one direction. And so that's where we're trying to move in the next period of time here. I'm going to turn it over to Jen England quickly to talk about what some of those next steps look like.
Great, thank you, Sam. Yeah, so for folks who are interested in getting involved or keeping tabs on this, as Sam and Don said, we will need broad support. So if this is something that kind of lights your fire, you want to make sure to be paying attention and following this as it moves through the process. The first thing to do is make sure that you are on the Food Policy Council mailing list so that you can stay up to date. We will be sending out lots of information about any meetings that are taking place or any actions that people need to take. Second, there is a Food Justice Fund Committee, and we are super excited for folks that are on the ground and want to participate in the Food Justice Fund Committee to make sure that it does reflect the needs of the community. Dawn, I actually don't know how people would sign up for that. Or Sam or somebody.
I am dropping the link to register for
Beautiful.
those meetings right now.
Thank you. Yes. So that is a great way to be actually hands-on involved. Yep.
I can't see the link, so you think you could email it to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
I will email those to you right now.
Yep. And this is a
Thank
great
you.
way if you want to have your, if you want to be hands-on and involved, making sure that this fund represents what the community needs. Being involved in this committee is a great way to do that. Thirdly, you can tell us how the Food Justice Fund will help you and what projects would you apply for. I know we're going to have a breakout session shortly where we're going to gather some information from you, but also if you spread the word, which is the next thing, and there are others in your community that would really benefit from this, get that information to us so that we can communicate that to the mayor and the city council so that they can really understand exactly what this fund is could do for the community. And of course, spread the word, tell people, put it on social media, however it is that you spread the word these days. Please make sure that everybody who needs to know about this does know about it.
Well, thanks everyone for sticking with us here through the breakout groups and everything. Sounded like there's some, obviously we temporarily came back and everyone was like, wait, let's go, let's keep going. So glad to hear there are some good conversations happening. Let's just do a quick time check here. We were going to try and have a report out from kind of each of the groups. Not sure we have time for all of that. Maybe, I don't know, like Dawn or Carlin, what do you think if we want to just have one or two groups and then go into our last couple agenda items?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so is there any, one or two people who want to raise their hand or something and just share, they were particularly inspired or excited by their breakout group conversation, or, particularly upset or challenged by it, whatever, anything that stuck out people want to share?
I'll go because I don't want to forget.
Yeah, take it away.
Go right ahead.
Okay, our breakout group was very, very active and covered a lot of issues. So I have a backup personality because my disability, I can't write down things. But we talked a lot. And the first thing I want to mention is that we talked about maybe having a support mechanism that doesn't necessarily deal with feeding people, but does help getting us to the table. And that is building some kind of technical assistance mechanism within the group, rather as a paid or committee that provides technical assistance to startup groups to help them get started, going into the communities, not necessarily their own communities, but anybody's community who need it, and helping them get started, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's a food co-op, whatever it may be, getting them started, providing technical assistance. That's one thing. Yeah. Another thing that we talked about is startup funding, necessarily, because every group is faced with that, especially when you go to the URA or someplace like that. They want a market study, or they want some kind of feasibility study to determine if what you're doing is feasible. That costs money, and we thought maybe it should be some kind of special category created for that, for startup money to hire architects or engineers, maybe even have one on board or on call pro bono or wherever that could go in and help these groups get market studies and feasibility studies. We also talked about the need to involve grassroots individuals in the communities along with the other individuals, so that you'll get a true understanding of the needs of the communities and what the project is all about. Ellie, help me out here now.
Kind
Share.
of tagging in here, yeah. There was a mention of the inequities faced by Black women in our city of Pittsburgh, and the Poise Foundation as a suggestion for administration of the funds. We talked about the importance of land access. The Hazelwood Co-op grocery store was an example of a project that Pastor Love is involved with. And then the importance of advocacy and policy work, which is, I think, covered under the sort of build community power portion of the sort of the purpose that's outlined there, as well as giving preference to organizations who have histories in the communities that are well established, have been doing the work, boots on the ground, and a very grassroots community-based approach.
Yeah, we also talked about
Thank you.
maybe a organization like the URA may not be a good fit for being a fiduciary for this funding, because a lot of groups have problems with them, or they just not fit, and that some other type of community base or some other group that's more closer to the people that will work with the people may be a better fit to try to get the money put into, like maybe one of the like the Hill District Credit Union, or Brentway Capital. Even those names were mentioned. That's why I mentioned them on the and you know, so that was a concern there as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor Love and Allie. Appreciate your report back there. Sounds like some great ideas. I saw some people reacting in the chat, and you know, with the little reactions, showing love and support for those. So thank you very much. Is there maybe one other speaker who wants to quickly share from their breakout group any similar, any other takeaways?
My name's Lindsay Frazier. We were in a breakout group, and we also talked about the importance of food adjacent, like policy systems and environment work, and getting into different organizations that way. But also the importance of sort of figuring, there is a limit to innovation, and innovation is important, but there's already so many groups that are doing a lot of really important work in a lot of these areas. And so really doing some background work on which groups are specializing in what areas, and then doing capacity building around organization and people's sort of focus, and then doing some connection work between those groups to really make sure that the funds are being used as efficiently as possible.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate that. All right, so I think you know, we'll definitely be kind of looking over the notes from all the breakout groups and seeing like what kind of outstanding questions there were, and you know, figuring out the best way to respond to them. And we will, you know, be in touch with more information, but definitely appreciate everyone's contributions, thoughts, and feedback here. I think, Don, I'm going to turn it over to you to do any kind of last steps or next steps, or wrap up our Food Justice Fund conversation here.
Yeah, just really quickly wanted to put out that we know that this conversation is dynamic. There's always new information. We're having to build this together, both among our members at the council as well as our partners in elected officials in government. So really wanted to create a more consistent, more frequent space. Than these are our bi-monthly member meeting. So our next member meeting won't be until April. So wanting to set up a Food Justice Fund committee where we can discuss these things further, where we can dig into more questions, put out more ideas, and refine our proposal, invite others to join us. And we've set the first meeting for the 4th of March from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And I believe those will be bi-weekly as a regular place, open to any council members who want to come and contribute your ideas and thoughts. And so if we can drop that link in the chat, and it'll also be in the notes that come out from this meeting to everyone who registered. We also share our information through the Scoop, like we mentioned before, which goes out every other week. That's our e-newsletter. And I think that is where we will leave this for now. But thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas. Denny, did you?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want those who took notes to, let's say, scan them and send them to you so that you have that stuff at hand?
We have, I think most folks took notes in the facilitator's guide, but if you didn't take notes there and you took them elsewhere, if you could send them via email, smoke signals, whatever works, just you can send them to me and I'll make sure that they get incorporated into the agenda.
Okay. The next item here, it says share comments with Gainey transition team. Is that a separate item or? Should we
Yeah, I can speak to that just really quickly. We shared out a message on our listserv over the weekend. The Gainey transition team is very, oh, I see your hand, Josiah. Did you want to jump in here?
It sounds like we're about to kind of retweet each other because that was going to be, my recommendation. So let me just give a quick overview, John, and I'll hit it right back. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So let me lower my hand because that's awkward. So as you all know, there's an official transition process going on in a number of committees that are covering different parts, different impact areas, and different recommendations. That process is still ongoing, and I believe last night was the first of a series of roundtable discussions. And just as part of the team, what we try to do every chance we get is ask folks to participate in that process, because that's really going to help us articulate not just what we heard from the community, but what the priorities for the administration are in terms of actions in the near term. And I know that in a group like this, and having talked with so many of you, that is not new news or anything like that, but I did just want to elevate that again to please participate and let your voices be heard. It's very, it's an official way to do so. And then what I've heard kind of from inside the team is we're going to line those up, with the mayor's priorities, and then try to communicate out what we'll be working on as close to action points as possible. And I think that this group and this realm, quite frankly, is really well positioned to be a big part of that. So that's all I was going to say, Don. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I've also just been learning about the process and wanted to share just really quickly that you can attend the community forums, the roundtables. I participated in the one last night, and some of you were also on there. It was focused on equitable development. It was a really great conversation like the ones we had here. And there will be several others. I'm hoping some of yeah, there we go. Sam's dropping the links here. There's one on Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. They're basically in the next 2 weeks, they're going to have the 4 forums. Those are for if you want to come on a Zoom conversation, go into small groups and report back very much like this. But it's not your only opportunity. You can also post something like an idea or a comment to essentially like a web-based bulletin board. You can also answer a survey, and those things are at the links here. And again, those will be emailed out to you as well. So there's many ways to join. And what we're really asking is for all of you who are active in your communities, obviously speak out about all of the issues that are important to you, food especially, but not only. And then, add your voice to, the call for the establishment of a food justice fund, and for leadership, like we're seeing here tonight, leadership from the next administration to really move this work forward.
Isn't there a meeting tonight? I believe it's on education and workforce development. I won't be there, but I think
it's today. What's today?
I think it's tomorrow. They're Monday.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, that one's Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I do think that food falls really solidly into environment and infrastructure, which is next week. But food touches all of the topics, so don't hold back.
And I was going to say, our group, it was crystal clear that it falls into education and workforce development.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it crosses all the.
Dan and Dawn, do you have like 5 minutes after we're off? Shoot.
Yeah.
If I can speak to you guys.
Yeah, sure. Let's Absolutely. I have time after. But I think next on the agenda was I was going to share a report. I can share the link out. The biggest thing I wanted to share with everyone is that we have an office that I'm currently sitting in, that our lease is up at the end of the month, and we will be closing our office. And while we do our strategic planning process over the next 6 months, we will be looking at considerations of space, not just at the Food Policy Council, but, are there space needs across our food systems network, and digging a bit more into that and investing our rent into a more strategically aligned opportunity is something we've been thinking about. So just to say, we'll be continuing to be virtual, but also there are many spaces in many of your literal backyards and gardens, and in our partners have meeting rooms and things that will be meeting in person as the weather lightens up and COVID allows as well. But just that was the biggest headliner I wanted to share. And I want to transition back to Denny for our member information sharing.
And we have 12 members who would like to share information, and we have 5 minutes. So I'm just going to call one at a time and ask you to talk as quickly as possible. I'm glad to say we still have 48 people on the call, so you will be talking to a rather large group. Lou, you wanted to mention some things about the SNAP trainings in the flyer.
Everybody, so I'm working with the city as an AmeriCorps Vista. We're doing a SNAP campaign for this spring. We just launched a page on Engage PGH that has all this information plus more. So I am just going to drop that in the chat. But the highlight is we are going to be hosting community trainings for SNAP and knowledge sharing. The first will be March 14th on a Monday at 6. That'll be more of a SNAP overview, and the next will be the next Monday, March 21st, also at 6, which will be more of a deep dive into the application process. So this is both designed for any community members who are interested in learning more about SNAP, trying to be more involved in that process, and then also community organizations that might benefit from having this info. So I'll drop that in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Next up is Helen from my ancestral homeland of Lawrenceville for info on the Duncan Park Food Forest Series.
I don't believe Helen's here with us this evening.
You with us, Helen? Okay, next up is Ken Riegel, whose topic, according to this, is maybe it's a poem. Ken, did you want to?
I don't have anything prepared, but I will quickly mention that we are in the midst of tax filing season. Just Harvest provides free tax preparation services to low-income folks. You can make an appointment by calling 211. Most people don't associate tax issues with food and hunger, but it turns out that the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit are lifting more people out of poverty than any other program in this country besides Social Security. So if you have family, friends, neighbors, clients, constituents that need those services, call 211 and make an appointment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Next up, Emily Schmidlap, are you still with us? Okay.
Emily is not.
Okay, Ashley Seiler. Okay, Raiden. I think I saw Raiden was still with us. No, did he run away? Okay, Tamara O'Brien. Jamie Christian. Daniel Little. Queen Watkins Wise. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Oh, this is going much faster than I anticipated. Annie Dunn.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. My name is
Annie. Thank you. I was wondering if everybody was avoiding reporting out, so we appreciate you being here.
No, definitely. Thanks for giving me space here. I work for a nonprofit called Repair the World Pittsburgh. We mobilize our communities to take action towards a more just world, and we really do this through volunteer recruitment and management. We help build the capacity of our local nonprofit service and community partners through these volunteers. I coordinate a program for young adults, 18 to 29-year-olds, Fields. Application is currently open. It's a 10-week program where they volunteer directly with some of our community partners for 10 hours a week, with an opportunity to receive a stipend at the end of the program. Some of our community partners are local Urban Farms and Gardens, Garfield Community Farm, Bugs, Tree Pittsburgh, EECM, Sheridan Ave Orchard and Garden. So lots of opportunities to get involved in environmentalism, sustainability, food justice, that good stuff. So if you know a young adult who wants to meet new people, give back and get paid, I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Oh, wonderful, Carlin. Thank you.
Great. And thank you, Annie. And Ben Buchanan, are you with us?
Danny, I don't see Ben, but I did want to make an announcement.
Okay, please.
I meant to make earlier, but that is that our Pittsburgh Food Equity Ambassador Program that we've put together with the City of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County Health Department, American Heart Association, and others. And we have some of our ambassadors from our first cohort here tonight with us. I saw Messina and Tierra. I think that Carol was also on our list, but we had a fabulous first cohort that put together a list of recommendations that we shared with members of Mayor Gainey's team last week. The application for the second cohort is open. And so I wanted to just direct your attention to, oh, I love the link dropping in the chat. There is the ambassador program, which is at our pittsburghfoodpolicy.org website. Applications are accepted there and will be open until March 7th. This is a series of 10 meetings where we come together and work together to advance some of the recommendations that we laid out in the first cohort. So, and this is a compensated program. If you have any questions or want to check out more information, check out that website or reach out to us and we're happy to talk with you about it.
Okay, since the chat goes away when this meeting concludes, I think, is there a way to, no, it doesn't. How do we access the links that have been provided throughout the meeting?
We will save the chat. I don't think that I'll share the chat because I think there's a lot of chatter, but I can pull the links out and include them. We will follow up with registrants with the notes from the meeting, any necessary links will be included in that email.
This is Pastor Love. I did indicate that I had an announcement. I don't know if I did it in time because you didn't mention me.
No, it wasn't on the list, Pastor, but please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We are the Greater Hazel Coalition Against Racial and Ethnic Disparities and Poor Law has a project in Greater Hazel community called the Equity One-Stop Shop Resource Center. And it's going to be located in the former Good Shepherd Church, which consists of additional 11 to 12,000 square feet of space, which we are currently converting into an incubator. We have office space for people who are providing services to residents or need an office space to reach out. And that office space will be built to suit you. Currently, the architects are there now, not now, but are currently drawing up plans for people who are interested. So if you're interested, I can't put, if somebody know my information, can they put it in the chat for me?
Yes, I will drop your email in just one moment.
Okay, thank you. And just contact me or Sandra Cole, and we'll be willing, we'll be really help. We'll be grateful to talk to you about it. You'll be helping out the community as well. This is not a for-profit venture, it is nonprofit. So the rents are reasonable because we're just trying to stabilize the operation of the center.
Great. Ma'am, you want to bring us home?
Yes, boy, and there's still 36 people on here. So, and I want to say, I thought this was a great meeting. I met two people who I did not know before in the breakout session, and I hope the rest of you had that kind of positive experience in your breakout session. I think that's a winner. That's something we may want to do more often. Thank you all for joining us. We have such important work with this Food Justice Fund, such opportunity. I am really excited about this, and I'm just so happy to see all of you in our at this meeting.
Well, thank you all for coming, and the next meeting of the general membership is April 26, 2022 from 4 to 5:30. Please register for that at your earliest convenience, but in the meantime, I hope as many of you as can join us on the Food Justice Fund committee meetings that are upcoming much sooner.
Jenny, I have one quick thing to say. I think the pastor wanted to stay on and speak with Dawn for a few minutes. So I just wanted to say to Food Policy Council people, when you are logging off, please don't close